Hello and welcome to Voices of the Voiceless, Speak Your Truth. Today I'm going to be talking to Karen Burge, who's the Vice President of the Church Ubuntu and personal assistant to Dr Andrew Katelaris, and one of the 4 founding members of the Cannabis who will be travelling Australia in 2018, educating the public about the importance of cannabis. So today we're going to be talking about the prohibition of cannabis, and we're going to be talking a little bit about Andrew Katelaris and who he is and what he's done for people who are in need of cannabis oil for medicinal purposes, and just in general for our human rights to be able to access this as a food source. We're going to be talking a little bit about some of the children who've been medically kidnapped and the effect of this on, or the impact of this on them, on their families. And in particular, we'll be talking about the story of Chase Walker. And we're going to, at the end, Karen will tell us a little bit about what we can do to help and to support each other to achieve the goals of what she's been working towards and what Andrew Katelaris has been working towards. So this goal is to have affordable access to cannabis and to work as a community in unity. So in this podcast, I'm talking to Karen over Zoom. So Karen is in New South Wales and I'm in Victoria. So it wasn't possible for us to meet in person. Also, today is the 27th of December, 2017. So that might just be important to keep in mind in regards to Christmas just passed and the people that we're going to be talking about. So without further ado, let's listen to our conversation we had today. Hi, Karen. Welcome to
Hello, Emily.
Voiceless.
Hello, Emily. Thank you for having me today.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you for coming and being a guest. So to start with, I might just ask you, what is currently being legally prohibited in Australia at the moment?
Okay, so what's currently being prohibited, and the main topic of our conversation today, is cannabis. It has been prohibited for the last 80 years. The anniversary of the 80 years is this year. And it was prohibited in 1937 because it was a threat to multinational corporations and pharmaceuticals. So you can see why it's now such a big issue, and it's coming down to a fight between pharmaceuticals and what the government and the pharmaceuticals want to give our people, and those in the advocates and the people that have already been using the medicine, standing up for our right to have it as a whole plant, as something that can grow in our backyards, or affordable access if we can't grow it in our backyards, in the purest natural form possible.
Yep. So what are the impacts of these prohibitions?
Well, every day I'm witnessing so many impacts, so many negative impacts of prohibition, like the needless suffering of our people. This year has been a year where we've witnessed it through social media in a really dramatic way, with what happened to our beautiful little boy, Chase Walker Stevens, and we'll talk more about that later. But there's been that, which was 7 months ago. He was medically kidnapped because his parents were successfully treating him with whole plant cannabis and a plant-based diet. And the whole world watched him wave for the first time ever on national TV. He was smiling and laughing for the first time in 3 years. He started smiling and waving as a child. He was sort of progressing a little bit, but every time he had vaccines, he would regress and he would start having bad seizures. And after the 12-month needle vaccination, he stopped smiling and laughing. So after 3 years, all his parents wanted to see was him to smile and laugh and have a bit of a quality of life, because his life was like a permanent drug-induced comatized type state, and there was no quality of life. There was no quality of life for the family. So they started reducing the medicine that he was on and started to see him improving. And then they found cannabis and the plant-based diet, and the whole world watched his improvement then. So that's one of the stories. But even, for me personally, I've healed my body from autoimmune disease, Graves' disease, a heart condition. I just had a lady stop me in the street, and she said, she met me a few days ago, and she said after I left, she commented on how white my eyes are. She said, I've never seen anyone with whiter eyes than you. It must be a sign of your health, because you just look radiantly healthy. And I said, I believe it was for sure. I was so sick. I live in a building with about 40, 50 stairs from the ground floor to the top. And I used to have to stop every now 3 or 4 times before I could get to the top to get to my home, my bedroom, and that, because I was so suffering from chronic fatigue and that. So, it'd be detrimental to my health if I wasn't able to access this anymore. I could talk all day about this subject. We've been in our clinic, we've assisted over 5,000 people in the last 3 years, and everyone, the prohibition was hurting all of those people, and it's hurting all their family members who are watching their loved ones suffer. I believe personally it's detrimental to everyone's health to have this plant prohibited. And I encourage everyone listening to do a little research on Google, a thing called the endocannabinoid system, and that'll explain why cannabis works for every single condition, and why that statement that I just said can be backed up as scientific evidence that the endocannabinoid system is part of our operating system. It's the mothership of our well-being. It governs our immune system, our endocrine system, our cardiovascular system. Its purpose is homeostasis, which is the perfect equilibrium with our body, mind and spirit, and that's what cannabis consumption does for us. So that's why I believe it is detrimental to us to have this food withheld from us, and I choose to see it and use it as food. So Google the endocannabinoid system, or also Cannabis Hemp Guide on YouTube. There's a beautiful playlist on there that I've compiled that's got a whole heap of video stuff that people can sit and take their own time to do their own research, and it's the best thing you could do for your own health or for your loved one's health.
So all of this information is just easily accessible on the internet?
Yep, absolutely. There's a 5-part series on the endocannabinoid system, and there's also the Cannabis Hemp Guide has information on that. And I know doctors and biologists and nurses that when they do a little bit of research and discover the endocannabinoid system, they become really angry. They said, we should know this. It proves that cannabis is our companion plant. We are supposed to be eating it every day. Fresh is the best way to have it. It doesn't have the psychoactive effect, but as a fresh plant in your smoothies every morning or sprinkled over your meals, there's over 570 constituents in the cannabis plant, and that's vitamins, minerals, nutrients. And that's growing all the time as there's doing more research. There's no plant that's ever been researched more than cannabis. And it's really detrimental to our health. And, I'm very scared about Chase's health, because he's been withheld that food that we all watched him thriving on for 7 months now. And he's a strong little warrior, but he's, it scares me that I know that his health is regressing because this is withheld from him. Yeah.
So I'm just curious, why is this plant being prohibited, and is it because of the connection to it being a drug? No,
I think they're scared of it because they know the potential for hemp, for example, which is hemp and cannabis are like the same plant, it's like a same plant, just a different variety, like oranges and lemons. So hemp, for example, has over 55,000 uses. We could replace all our plastic with hemp. We could replace all of our material with hemp instead of cotton. It could replace cotton. It can replace, rope, and it's the strongest natural fibre on the planet. You know, they used to use the ropes on the ships as they used to make them out of hemp. There's buildings made in the world out of hemp. Hemp building is like, to build a house with hemp, you would have it's termite proof, it's cool in summer, warm in winter, you wouldn't need air conditionings. It's a biodegradable, it's safer for the environment. There's so many uses for hemp, but with cannabis as medicine, they make too much money off us being sick. And, you know, that's the crutch of it. The pharmaceutical companies are relying on us being sick, and the way they're working is you get an illness and you get a tablet for that condition, and then that causes adverse side effects, so you need another tablet for that, and then another tablet for that, and another tablet for that. The children with epilepsy are on dozens of tablets, like up to 20, 30 tablets a day. That, like, an adult would not be able to survive on a third of what they're on. You know, it's just, and you know, I've just watched my best friend from high school die of pancreatic cancer. You know, she was addicted to pharmaceutical drugs all of her life. She smoked cigarettes all of her life, which causes cancer. And then at the end, they turn around and go, "Oh, why am I sick? What have I done wrong to deserve this?" And you know, it's not that they've done anything wrong to people, but it's just that they've, you know, thought that, you know, they're caught up in that programming of, you know, addictions of cigarettes and all these things that are so toxic to our system that are legal. And so I think it's just, for me, that, you know, for me, I've witnessed every single person that once you get the dosage right with cannabis and make some simple diet and lifestyle changes, does have better quality of life. So, yeah, it's really sad that they'd rather us be sick than healthy, but there's big money in sickness. There's not as much money in health and staying healthy and disease prevention. There probably is, but they just don't realise how they haven't worked out how they can make money out of it yet.
Yep.
And that's why they're dragging it out, telling us that it's legal, but there's no way in Australia you can get it, you know. It's confusing people. It's really disheartening to people, giving people hope. Okay, we're going to legalise medicinal cannabis. And they go, okay, yippee, but where can we get it? No, you can't. And when can we get it? Oh, you still got years to wait. And it will be a synthetic form. So people, I don't think people realise that that the government are going to give you synthetic cannabis unless we stand up now and demand that we want to be able to grow it in our backyard.
Before we go any further, could you tell us a little bit about Andrew Katelaris and his story?
Oh, wow. It's a bit touchy right now because he's just spent Christmas in jail, and I've been his assistant for 3 years, and he's one of the most incredible mans. He's a genius. He's so what I can say about Andrew is that he's a lifetime hemp party member, and he was a hemp party candidate in the last elections. And we were both going into elections at the as candidates at the last elections, and I've had all these people telling me, you shouldn't do it. And I said to Andrew, but I want to do it. And he said, well, doing something is always better than doing nothing. And he's always inspired, says that all the time, and I love that, you know. It is, even if we look like idiots and get called all bizarre hippie names, it's better than us sitting back and doing nothing. So he's also known as a pioneer in the industry and has been in jail since the 5th of December. He spent the first 10 days at Parklea Detention Centre in solitary confinement. A prison guard felt sorry for him and gave him something to read on the last day. We saw him on a TV screen in the Supreme Court, just before Christmas. And he told us that for the 10 days he resided in a 2.5 metre concrete cell with an open toilet, no sunlight, minimal fresh air, and no contact with family or legal representatives.